What's up, Tailgaters? You're in the booth with Tailgate Nate today. Welcome to my channel. Another week 4 preview prediction video coming up for you here today. We're going to be talking about yet another big game that is taking place in the Pac-12 conference. And honestly, there are a ton of interesting storylines with this game here. You got the two remaining teams that are still part of the Pac-2 as it is being dubbed. You got the Oregon State Beavers that are going on the road to take on the Cougars in Pullman, Washington. Should be a fun one there in Martin Stadium. We're going to preview this one here in just a little bit. First, some business to take care of. Thank you guys so much for the support the channel is seeing as of late. To continue to show your support, hit the subscribe button, ring the bell so you know when videos get uploaded, but there are more ways than that to help me support this channel. Hey, you guys are doing one right now by watching the video. You guys can do more by liking, commenting, and sharing, and anything else you guys are willing and or able to do to help me support this channel. So that's going to do it for the business. So without further ado, let's talk about this game here. Again, the interesting storyline coming in is these are the two conferences out of the 12 teams that currently occupy the Pac-12 conference that have not found new homes for the 2023 season. And both of them are ranked inside the top 25. Both of them play a really, really good brand of football, and both of them are going to be out to prove that they belong in Power 5 football here in this game. So it should be a fun one. Any way you cut it, out of Pullman, Washington, let's dive on into the stats here for this game. We are going to start out with the visiting team, and that's going to be the 14th ranked Oregon State Beavers, who have a new quarterback this year. They are led by former Clemson transfer DJ Uiagalelei, and you know what? He's been playing pretty solid so far for this team. 630 yards, 6 touchdowns, 2 interceptions on 62-ish% completion percentage here for this Beaver offense. That's also been highlighted by a really good group of running backs back there as well. Most notably is that absolute stud in the backfield, Damian Martinez, 351 yards in the touchdown so far on the season. And you have a pretty solid backup to him in Deshaun Fenwick as well. DJU has a lot of pretty solid weapons to throw to, most notably Silas Bolden, Anthony Gold. These are some really, really good players that Oregon State has on the offensive end. And they also have a really good offensive line as well. 48% completion on third down opportunities. You've only turned the football over twice, and you've only allowed 1 sack, and that's a huge credit to what this offensive line has been able to do. They've been dominant, and they've been able to kind of push their opponents around, if you will, when Oregon State ends up coming to town. And Oregon State has looked very, very impressive so far throughout this season offensively and defensively. I mean, this team just looks mighty impressive defensively, especially up front. They're only allowing 11 points per game so far. Now, this will by far be their biggest offensive test, and we will talk about that when we get to Washington State. But when we take a look here at what the Oregon State Beavers are doing defensively, it's starting out with those big boys up front, right? They've generated 12 sacks so far this year, and everyone is getting in on the action. John McCartan, who's a linebacker, has 2 sacks. You got Isaac Hodgins, who has 2 sacks. You got Andrew Chatfield, who has 2 sacks. You got Takari Hickel, who has 2 sacks there as well. I mean, this is the Beaver defense that's just flying all over the field, getting pressure to the quarterback, and they're forcing turnovers as well. You got 4 turnovers forced so far on the year, not to mention that rush defense has been absolutely spectacular for Oregon State so far this season. And they've faced some teams that really can run the football. Take a look at San Diego State last week. So this is an Oregon State team that's going to come into Pullman ready to play and ready to prove some people that, again, Oregon State, they belong in Power 5 football, but Washington State will look to do the same thing. And yes, these defensive numbers are impressive for the Oregon State Beavers, but they have not yet faced an offense like what Jake Dicker has here with Washington State, with his quarterback, Cameron Ward. The former Incarnate Word transfer has been absolutely lighting up the scoreboard so far this year with his passing ability. 986 yards, 9 touchdowns on 72% completion percentage so far throughout the year. Coincidentally, is also this team's leading rusher. Now, this is a team rushing the football that has not had the greatest success so far this year. Nakia Watson's been a pretty solid back for them. Dylan Payne has also been in and out there as well, but Dylan Payne's stat line is even inflated because of a 52-yard run. Nakia Watson's long on the season, only 11 yards, does have 2 touchdowns though. Cam Ward's been able to show the ability running the football as well. So this really is an offense that runs through the pass, right? You got guys like Lincoln Victor, Josh Kelly, Kyle Williams, Carlos Hernandez, the tight end Cooper Mathers. Couldn't read the last name for a minute. All 5 of those guys are over 100 yards receiving so far on this game. So this is going to be a very dynamic test for the Oregon State Beavers. But you want to look at the mismatch here, right? Oregon State has a lot of great pass rushers, and they've generated a lot of sacks. Washington State's offensive line has not been the best so far throughout the season, so we'll see if that can improve, but they have been really, really good on third down, as you see there. Over 60% conversion rate there on third down. As now we take a look at the defensive side of what you're going to see out of the team that calls Pullman home. I mean, this has been a pretty solid defense overall so far. I know 363 yards is not a great number. 22.3 points per game is a pretty solid number. What I'm trying to say, guys, these are some pretty solid stats. Now, the pass defense definitely needs to improve for this team, right? The pass defense definitely is what is going to have to get better. But what the Cougars are doing really well, the rush defense has been pretty solid so far this season. They're not really allowing teams to convert on critical third downs. They are generating sacks and they're generating turnovers as well. But also probably the biggest offensive test they're going to face may end up being this Oregon State team here. And that's saying a lot because Washington has already beaten a Wisconsin team that's got a lot of really good offensive weapons there as well. Which now leads me into my what to watch for, keys to the game, kind of some things that you need to watch out for when you are watching this game. And we're going to start with, of course, the road team, the 14th ranked Oregon State Beavers. DJ Uiagalelei, the former Clemson transfer quarterback, needs to show out here and needs to make a lot of plays with his arm. Again, this is a Washington State passing defense that has been a little suspect so far. Now, they have faced some pretty good quarterbacks, and DJU will be a solid test again for this Cougar secondary. But the Cougar secondary is going to need to step up in a big way, and they're going to need to prove it. So DJU, I think, has got to have a really, really, really good game here. I think we know that the run game is going to be able to run. Damian Martinez, Deshaun Fenwick are guys that are going to be able to run the ball, and they are going to be effective throughout this game, partly because the lines have been dominant for the Oregon State Beavers. The offensive line has done a great job at limiting pressure and being able to create holes for this run game to be successful, but the defensive line has also been dominant. You saw that stat on the previous slide, 12 sacks. That's an average of 4 per game through the first 3 games here of Oregon State's season. And guys, I think they're going to continue to be that way. I think the offensive line, defensive line, both has some really, really great size, and both of those two sides there, both of those units on the line of scrimmage are going to continue to win here for the Oregon State Beavers. I give them the advantage both offensively and defensively at the line of scrimmage, which will be huge in this matchup. Look, and quite simply, Oregon State has to continue to own third downs. You saw that third down conversion percentage. They have been wildly impressive offensively, defensively. Now, Washington State has done really, really impressive things third down offensively there as well. But Oregon State continue to own it more so from a defensive perspective. Do not let Washington State move an inch on third downs. We're going to dive into the keys for Washington State now here. Cam Ward is a game commander. He is not a game changer. He is not a game influencer. He is a game commander. He is an absolute baller. He directs traffic every which way. He is such a good leader for this team, and I think he's going to have himself a pretty solid day here, not only throwing the ball, but I think he's going to have a pretty solid outing when it comes to rushing the football there as well. If he can be able to get out of the pocket and get out of the pressure that Oregon State is going to bring, he's going to be able to use his legs really, really effectively. And speaking of using your legs, I just talked about how I think Oregon State still going to be able to run the football with some effective ability here. And while the run defense has been really, really good, it's a run defense that's going to be tested by not only Damian Martinez, but Deshaun Fenwick as well. However, I will go backtrack and keep in mind that this is a Washington State defense that was able to hold Wisconsin, guys like Ches Malusi and Braylon Allen, to some really, really low yardage totals. So Washington State is no stranger to facing a good running back on the other side of the ball. And the Cougars can take control of tempo, and they can take control of the style of game that this is going to be, which leads me into my prediction. Now, Washington State, I know I just said, can control the tempo, control the pace, and they can control what style of game this is going to end up being. But the question is does the style that Washington State wants this game to be also play into the weaknesses of Oregon State? And in my opinion, the answer to that is no. I think Oregon State and Washington State here, my apologies. I think Oregon State's going to win a game where they're going to be able to set the tone on the ground. DJU is going to be able to have some really, really good throws there as well. Washington State is a team that wants to air it out and wants to throw the ball a lot here with Cam Ward. And I'm really concerned about this offensive line that we're going to see in Pullman here. Look, this is going to be a very, very good game. And if you haven't been paying attention to this one here, you need to start, because this one's going to be a fun one to watch in Pullman. But I do have the Oregon State Beavers. I think them being able to create a little bit more pressure to the quarterback, and I give them the slight defensive edge there as well. I think DJU is going to step up, make enough plays, and the Oregon State Beavers go on the road and get a huge road victory in Pac-12 play. So that'll do it for my thoughts on this game. Let me know yours in the comment section down below. And hey, as always, remember to play hard but tailgate harder. See you guys in the next video.